Rolex is considered by many as the highest expression of Swiss watchmaking. It is also one of the most famous watch brands in the world. But very few know the fascinating story of greatness and entrepreneurial spirit behind the founder of this brand. The founder of Rolex, a German named Hans Wilsdorf, was orphaned at the age of 12. He was sent to a boarding school by his uncles with the money saved by his parents. This boy was an excellent student. There he had the opportunity to learn English, which would be decisive in the future. Hans mastered this language very well, which helped him to find a job in a company as a correspondent and translator. Thanks to this job, he was able to perfect his language skills. In addition to developing an interest in the business of marketing and manufacturing these watches, he developed negotiation skills to market prestigious jewelry. The company was called Kuno-Korten, which at the time was the most important watch exporter in the country. Through this work, he also gained a wealth of valuable contacts from the most influential people in the industry at the time. At that time, men did not wear wristwatches as they do today. They were used only by women. Gentlemen preferred elegant pocket watches. These were the ones that Hans would sell for years during his time as an employee for Kuno-Korten. Thus, the young Hans Wilsdorf traveled by train to different European cities, promoting the high-quality watch products to the most influential stores. He himself was responsible for quality control. He himself set thousands of watches in his time as a salesman. He traveled at all times accompanied by an elegant leather briefcase, where he carried dozens of the best watches of the time. He dressed elegantly as he was the image of these same prestigious watches. At the same time, this sales agent was meeting businessmen and making contacts. One of them was Hermann Egler, a Swiss watch workshop owner who would play a key role in the development of Rolex's history. In 1905, Hans decided to move to England and try his luck setting up his own business. He chose London because there was a proliferation of upper-class people in the city who could afford a watch of good prestige. He teamed up with his brother-in-law, Alfred Davis, and the two of them founded the Wilsdorf and Davis Company, which would import to England the watches that his old friend Hermann Egler assembled in his factory in Switzerland. By then, the young Hans already had a thriving business, but he was not satisfied with just that. Hans knew very well that a watch was more than an accessory for personal use. It was an item that gave status and prestige to a man. And now Mr. Hans wanted to take this accessory to another level. For that, he needed to create his own brand and come up with a name that was easy to pronounce, one that could be recognized in any language. He began to combine the letters and came up with a number of names, none of which seemed right. It is not clear how the name Rolex came about, but it turned out to be perfect as it was short and could be easily engraved on the dials of his watches. So, it was that on July 2, 1908, at the age of 27, Hans registered the Rolex brand. It was not only a sales branch. Now Hans manufactures his own watches. In those days, wristwatches were not highly valued by men because they were perceived as delicate and subtle. They were more geared towards women. On the contrary, pocket watches represented an image of strength. They were much more durable and resistant. They represented power over time as it was common for them to be passed down for generations. Pocket watches were classified as jewelry, a sign of power in a family. A grandson inheriting his grandfather's watch was a symbol that he was in charge of the leadership of the family. Therefore, despite his low approval at that time, Hans started to manufacture a wristwatch, but focusing on its durability and the elegance of its mechanisms. In 1910, 2 years later, he received the first certificate from the Vienna Watch Control Office, being the first manufacturers in history to receive it. An official Swiss chronometer Rolex wristwatch model. And thanks to the high quality of those Swiss mechanisms, men began to change their perception regarding that compliment that finally ceased to be exclusive for women. The popularity of these watches reached its peak during the First World War, when they were consolidated as accessories also suitable for men. The fact is that pocket watches, still very common among men, were impractical for soldiers, but the Rolex wristwatches, made really strong and durable, began to be used by soldiers as an essential part of their equipment. A major setback for the company came when the government of England decided to impose a new tax on some luxury items, including watches. It was too expensive for Rolex to import its watches from Switzerland to England, so it decided to move its headquarters to Geneva, Switzerland. Taking advantage of this opportunity to improve relations with its suppliers located in Switzerland. Once settled in this new location, it was time for the company to take on a new challenge, to build the world's first waterproof wristwatch. To achieve this, Rolex engineers had to face the great challenge of waterproofing all the mechanisms of the watch. Finally, in 1926, they launched their first waterproof model, the Rolex Oyster. Once achieved, it was time to resort to ingenious ideas to promote the new product. They thought of submitting the Rolex Oyster to the toughest tests to prove its quality. It turns out that a young swimmer named Mercedes Glitz had managed to cross the English Channel on October 7, 1927. In his second attempt to cross the English Channel, Rolex saw there the perfect opportunity to promote the launch of its new watch and wanted to be part of that event, offering the young swimmer to wear a Rolex Oyster around her neck. Although the young woman did not manage to achieve her goal of crossing the channel due to the low temperatures, when Mercedes came out of the water, the Oyster was fully intact and working perfectly. The press took notice of this incredible achievement, appearing on the front page of several newspapers. The public began to recognize the Rolex brand as a symbol for quality and endurance worldwide. The next achievement occurred in 1931, when Rolex invented and patented the Perpetual Rotor, the world's first automatic mechanism, which is today at the heart of all modern automatic watches. By then, Rolex watches were already worn by presidents and celebrities around the world, adding to the brand's prestige. In 1935, Rolex reached the top of Everest. With Rolex Oyster watches, it sponsored the first successful expedition to climb Everest by Edmund Hillary and Tenzing Norgay, the first people to reach the top of Mount Everest and return alive. Rolex also took its watches to the most extreme tests, such as putting them to magnetic fields with satisfactory results. Finally, the founder of Rolex, Hans Wilsdorf, died in Geneva in 1960 at the age of 79. Today, Rolex continues to employ the same marketing strategies. It is present in the most prestigious events and sponsorships in cultural and sporting events. It stands for leadership and greatness in people. The American financial multinational Morgan Stanley, in collaboration with Lux Consult, a Geneva-based firm specializing in the watch industry, recently published its annual analysis of the Swiss watch industry for the year 2021. According to the report, Rolex had record sales revenue of $13 billion in 2021. It also remains the market leader with a 29% global share of total retail sales. But this is nothing new. Rolex has managed to stay on top for over 100 years, and its items are symbol with luxury and excellence. After all, Rolex doesn't sell watches but true pieces of art, and no brand seems to be able to compete with that. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.